a little, but I will ask you, how do you think The Last Dance impacted your opinion on the great debate that is, who is the greatest of all time?
Well, the documentary, as great as it was, didn't affect my opinion at all. And I think for most people that were alive for the era, it didn't change their opinion. Jenna, you said the poll has to sting. I think the fact that 27% of people think LeBron's the greatest shows about a 25% increase over just the last 4 years. It was June 21st, 2016, when I went on Colin Cowherd's show 2 days after Game 7 of the Finals against the Warriors and said LeBron was the greatest player ever. Not that he could be, that he already was. And at that point, I think it was 98% to 2% in favor of Jordan. So I think you're seeing a steady uptick of people coming to this realization. And I want to say something about Michael Jordan before I get to the LeBron part. People think I hate Michael Jordan. Couldn't be further from the truth. I fell in love with basketball in large part because of Michael Jordan. He was, at the time, the greatest player ever in my favorite sport, and I do sports for a living. This argument has never been about what Jordan isn't or wasn't. It's about, for me, what LeBron is. And what LeBron is bigger, stronger, faster. He's done it against far tougher competition. Every team he's beaten in the finals is better than any of the teams Jordan beat. He's done it with coaches ranging from downright awful to pretty good, as opposed to having the GOAT coach for his entire run of championships. He's done it longer. He's done it in a more variety of ways. His biggest weakness became his biggest strength. The guy who once we doubted how clutch he was now has more buzzer beaters, more game winners in the playoffs than any player ever, has more points per game in elimination games and game sevens than any player ever, and his game translates to any era. Drop LeBron James in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, or right now, and he's the best player in the league at any given time. So it's never been Jordan can't, Jordan isn't, Jordan wasn't. It's just been a guy came around who's bigger, stronger, faster, a more versatile defender, can play all 5 spots, can guard all 5 spots, has done it far longer, and has done it at a higher level, Broussard. So, no, it hasn't changed my opinion, but I do think opinions are changing on this, the fact that 1 in 4 people think it is LeBron.
I agree with you on 2 things, Nick. One, this hasn't changed my opinion either. I've long said Michael Jordan's the GOAT. I still feel that way. And number 2, look, picking one over the other is not ripping the other guy. LeBron is fantastic. I've got LeBron number 2. I've got Kareem number 3 for the record. But Michael Jordan is the GOAT. And I don't know if you're saying there was a scientific poll back in 2016 when you said LeBron was the GOAT. But I actually think that this documentary has added more young people to the Jordan side. I think, obviously, people of my generation were thinking it was Jordan. I'm shocked that in that ESPN poll, he ran away with it among young people, among millennials, and I think this documentary has a lot to do with it. Look, LeBron, we nitpick on this, but Michael Jordan had no weaknesses whatsoever in this game. Even if someone tries to argue three-point shooting, first of all, it wasn't a weakness at the time he played. Secondly, his career three-point percentage is the same as Kobe Bryant's. Nobody's looked at Kobe and said his three-point shooting was a weakness. So Jordan had no weaknesses. LeBron does, as great as he is. Number 1, the free throw shooting. That's a weakness. Number 2, LeBron doesn't move well without the basketball. That makes it tough for him to fit into a system. Everywhere he goes, everyone has to adjust to him rather than him being able to fit in, which can make it tough for stars to play with LeBron. Number 3, LeBron doesn't really have a go-to shot. Certainly not that, stop on a dime, pull up mid-range jumper. That can be tough on him. And then you want to talk about, a lot of people say the super team era that LeBron's played in. Here's the problem, and that's why he only has 3 rings and 9 finals appearances. The problem is that LeBron had super teams. He was one of the first with Wade and Bosh, and they only won 2 out of 4. They lost to Dirk Nowitzki, the lone superstar, on that team that beat them in 2011. And then in Cleveland, Kyrie Irving is going to be a Hall of Famer. Kevin Love was putting up numbers we hadn't seen since before the ABA-NBA merger when he was in Minnesota. That's a super team. So LeBron is great, but Jordan is clearly the GOAT. Here's to wrap it up. The way LeBron dominated the East and put it on lock for 8 years, phenomenal. No one else thought they could beat him, and no one else did. They were shook. Michael Jordan did that to the entire NBA. The entire NBA was shook because they knew they couldn't beat him.
Well, they were shook. Listen, they were absolutely shook except for before Jordan started winning, when they won. The year Jordan came back when the Magic didn't look shook, and then right after. But that's fine. Listen, you mentioned the super team in Cleveland. LeBron lost one NBA Finals with Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving alongside him, and it was to the most talented team ever put together, the 2017 Warriors. The first year, Kevin Love and Kyrie didn't play. They were hurt. And the last year, Kyrie was gone. But this poll, Wilds, here's how I know this poll, and there's all that Jordan, as you once put, would win who's the tallest player ever. 59% of the people polled said Michael Jordan is a better passer than LeBron James. That means 59% of people are just going to vote for Jordan. They either have a LeBron bias or they're just so drunk on the Jordan Kool-Aid that if 6 out of 10 people say Jordan was the better passer, then I think you know you're not operating with a fully honest sample size, Wilds.
So, Nick, I think this is less of a science experiment and more of a perception experiment. And I think when you think about Jordan versus LeBron, and take away stats and just think about the storytelling, and that's what The Last Dance was. It was a story. And specifically, hang this all off of the Be Like Mike campaign. People can relate to Michael Jordan because they see themselves in Michael Jordan in a way, and it's been very crafted, but it works. Michael Jordan wasn't the best player in his own family. He was a little brother. He gets cut from his high school team. He's drafted 3rd, and then what happens? He gets to the league. He gets hurt. And then what happens? It's happened to everybody. There's some bad boys, the bullies, and the bullies beat him up, but he overcomes. And then he retires. He's got to come back. Everyone's felt that in their life. And then he's sick. He's sick, and he's able to power through. There's so much perception in the Jordan story. I think it really helps people relate to him, to the point where I think LeBron has an opportunity here as LeBron gets a little bit older and he starts to be viewed as an underdog. I think, Nick, this is really good for LeBron's legacy. If he can win, it will be one of the first times he's an underdog, besides, of course, when he beat the Warriors, 73-9 Warriors, and you declared him the best player of all time.
It's a good point,
Jordan
Wilds.
has a better
Perception
story.
is key.
LeBron just happens to be the better player, Jenna.
There we go. All right, let's take a break.